Well, that's the biggest win in school history for right now, Daniel, because Kentucky is now 1 game away. Can you believe we're saying this? Kentucky baseball. They're 1 game away from the College World Series.
It's wild.
It is.
It is very wild.
And the way they did it today, Trey Pooser on the hill for the Cats, and he's facing an Oregon State team who I learned from you in the Rapid Reaction earlier today. They're one of the hottest teams in baseball, one of the best hitting teams in baseball.
Yeah.
They got 1 hit. Could you imagine this series starting any better than what we got today?
Absolutely not. You know, a team like this, which I honestly think even heading into today, like I said, I think Tennessee is the only other team that matched up with Kentucky's offense. And I thought Oregon State was to that caliber, and even their coach touched on it in there in the interview room that he thought that he looks at his lineup 1 through 9 and he's like, this guy can contribute this guy. But tonight, I mean, Pooser just shut those guys down. Just 1 hit over 7 innings, just absolute domination, which I picked Oregon State to win tonight. So
a lot of people picked them to win the series.
I did not pick them to win the series, but I thought they'd come out and, you know, get a start. But my goodness, like, you could not have drawn up. I mean, I guess you could have thrown a no-hitter, but you could not get even just one hit. It's
especially, you know, with the guys that got in their lineup, and we'll get to some of that. But where the scoring got started was in the 2nd inning, and it started with Ryan Nicholson, who, what a game from him.
My God.
And he comes up, first pitch swinging. I thought when he hit it, I thought off the bat, oh, that's gone.
He thought it was gone, too. He was trotting up the line.
And give the Oregon State player credit. I mean, that was nearly a save the run with that. I thought for a second as he went up to try to make the catch, I thought he might have had it.
Yeah.
But luckily for the Cats, that wasn't the case. Then you go to the 5th, and Pooser gets in a little bit of trouble.
Oh, man.
Bases loaded, 1 out. And what were you thinking right there? Because I know Big Blue Nation was on pins and needles a little bit.
So I believe they were they only up 1-0?
It was 1-0
in the top of the 5th. Yeah. So they've got 2 on with Bazana up, and everyone's
they blew the double play ball first.
Yeah, they blew the double play. Pooser gets it back and throws it into center field, and so you're like, you know, you got 2 on, Bazana up, and they walk him, which I'm totally fine with.
Pitching around him.
In a situation like that, you do not give that guy a good pitch. But then here comes McDowell, who's hitting .403, and Pooser punches him out. But then 2 outs, and I looked at you, and I'm like, here's the guy, Gavin Turley. You know,
how many grand slams?
5. 5 grand slams this year. He hit 1 against Tulane in their regional. And what's he do? Forces a ground out to third.
That's an amazing stat. How many times in a season do you get to come up with the bases loaded? Unreal. And he has 5 grand slams, and Kentucky's able to get out of the inning.
I thought that was the game right there.
I did too. I was getting ready to say this was like the whole season felt like it could come down to what happened in that top of the 5th, and for Kentucky to able to get out of that unscathed. I thought minimum you're going to go to the bottom half of the inning. Even at 1.
Yeah,
I thought
that's what
at bare minimum, and to get out of that completely unscathed. I mean, I don't know what that does to Oregon State's dugout in that situation. To think, man, there was a chance to put up a crooked number. They had to top the lineup up, 2 on, nobody out after that error. But you know, go to the top of the 7th. Pooser again gets, I think it was the runners at 1st and 2nd that inning, or I think he might have walked a guy.
Yeah, I think he walked a guy, but then
and we were all standing in the press box back in the back. We were like, okay, maybe it's time to take him out. But Mingione sticks with him.
Man, right decision, you know. And he's done that. Just it's unreal what Pooser has done in the postseason since regular season plays. And you know, Arkansas, he pitched 5 innings, which he would have gone more in the SEC tournament, but they had bigger fish on the table ahead of them and just gives up 1 run. And then last week, Illinois, 7 innings, no earned runs. This week, 7 more innings, no earned runs, 8 strikeouts, 1 hit, just domination. And leaving him in was obviously the right decision because you get Jackson Novy to finish out the final 2 innings. And then now, I mean, if you're Kentucky, you're set. Like Oregon State, they pitch their best pitcher tonight, and they pitch 4 relievers. So they'll be kind of shaky on that part tomorrow. But then, you know, UK will have Mason Moore, who has not allowed a single earned run in 4 NCAA tournament games. And then behind him, you got Robert Hogan, Johnny Hummel, Ryan Hagenau. So
does Mason Moore get the ball tomorrow?
Yes, I totally believe that he'll get the ball.
And I know you had said earlier in the Rapid Reaction that if they win the game today, maybe you hold them. But I think you just go for the win.
I think you go for the win. Go for the net, especially after a win like this.
Yeah.
Like maybe if it's like a like a 5-4 game where you use 4 pitchers or something, maybe you want to try and use Mason, leave Mason if you don't have the support behind him. But I mean, you go out and win 10-0 and you use one reliever and the starter who's going to start no matter what. I think you throw Mason out there and go for the neck tomorrow.
That was like the fewest pitching changes I think I've seen a college baseball team do. And it's interesting too, Daniel. I think the first 5 innings, it lasted like 90
it blew
minutes.
by.
And then the bottom of the 7th was over 40 minutes alone, and that's because that was when the Cats broke it open. It's weird that in a game that Kentucky won 10-0, that we would say, well, they kind of left some meat on the bone in a couple innings. The 5th and 6th inning was, I thought, an opportunity that I thought right then Kentucky was going to bust the game open. They didn't. And then the 6th inning, they had, I think, 2 runners in scoring position, second and third.
Yeah, they had second, third with one out.
And couldn't scrape across another run. And so you're like, man, another blown opportunity there.
Yeah.
But then you get to the 7th, and after played some Mingione ball to scrape across a couple runs. And then, of course, as we talked about him earlier, Nicholson hits one. And I mean, that thing was up so high in the air.
Oh, my gosh.
Destroyed. It almost brought rain with it. I mean, that was one of the cool moments. I got to be in left field, the left field bleachers. Yeah. And the crowd, we haven't even talked about that yet. A record crowd. They announced 7,441.
No way. It felt like they were maybe 85 to 9,000, if not 10,000 in there.
If they'd announced like 10,000, nobody would have blinked. I mean, I was actually surprised that it was only 7,441.
That's what I thought. I mean, I said this morning, I was thinking like 8,500, and it seemed like there was 8,500 people in there.
It was announced as a sellout.
It was announced as a sellout, which
they were 4 deep. In the behind right field, which is like if you're sitting down, you're not. It's not elevated, like you're not seeing the game. But what I thought was so cool was in that 7th inning, everybody was standing the entire. I mean, people stood in the outfield most of the game, but that was like a 45-minute 7th inning and nobody sat down.
It's crazy. Like hats off. But just I kind of want to touch on that inning some more because we really need to just see how wild it was. Like, they score the first run of the inning on that bunt back to the pitcher, and Petrie slides under that, and that's a wild play. And then the catcher, that poor, I don't know what the Oregon State manager was doing because he was a catcher on Oregon State's national championship team in either 06 or 07. This dude knows what he's doing behind the dish, and he took out his starting catcher, I believe the 4th or 5th inning, and put in the backup. That 7th inning was, I mean, if you're that guy, you're going to want to burn that tape because he had the throw down the third base line that scored a run and 2 pass balls, and dude was just getting roasted. Like they were going after him, and it was bad for them. But just Mingione continues to score in those ways that you look at and you're like, yep, like so bunts and pass balls and steals.
They're very aggressive on the base paths too, and you got to imagine you put a new catcher. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that you kind of bait them into throws and you get them to make errors. And I think at that point Kentucky got up to like 7-0, 6-0, and then when Nicholson comes up, he hits the bomb, and this place erupts because they know the game 1's pretty much over. Like that pretty much sealed the win for Kentucky. And gosh, I mean, I don't know. It felt like the way things were going today, this game could have gone 18 innings and Oregon State would have gotten 0 runs. Yeah. Like, that's just the way it felt.
I mean, it was the first few innings, I think, were kind of tense because just everyone's like, here's Bazana and all these guys. But then as it kept going, it's like the confidence just continued to swell. And it's like, you're up 1-0 and you're not feeling that content. But then Petrie's RBI double, you go up 3-0 and you're like, okay, like the way that things are going, I feel good. And then they start scoring in the 7th, and then Oregon State just completely collapsed. Like, it was over with. They ran out of gas.
And the other thing too is Oregon State. We fact checked this. Me and you both. We came up with the same answer. Somebody in the press conference.
He's from Oregon, so you would think he would know. But
they have not been shut out this year.
No,
this was the first time.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, they haven't been shut out in an NCAA tournament game since 1983.
Wild.
Kentucky baseball. Kentucky baseball, Daniel. What? I think it's kind of hard to wrap our heads around as Kentucky fans because, of course, basketball history and everything, and football's been good lately.
Yep.
But this is just so different. This is uncharted territory right now for Kentucky fans who are now following this baseball team. I mean, 9 p.m. tomorrow.
Oh gosh.
Big Blue Nation's got to show up. What do you think that's going to do? How will that affect the environment here? A 9 p.m. first pitch for a sport that's going to last 3.5 hours.
gives them more time to drink out there in the tailgate
That's
line.
true.
There were a lot of tailgate. I mean, it looked like football season out there. I was
I'm glad
like,
you said that. Yes.
whoa.
When I was walking into, I mean, it was over there. It was over there.
Yep.
I mean, there were tents set up everywhere. I was smiling when I pulled in the parking lot. I was like, man, this is so cool. Like, I'm loving that everybody is embracing this team and following this team, because this is a moment right now for Kentucky baseball to take a huge step. National championship obviously is the goal. I mean, that's the goal right now. They're number 2 in the nation. They just beat the 15th best team 10-0.
Tennessee's on the ropes. They're the number 1 team.
I was about to say, here's what I wanted to do. I wanted to say, like, Oregon State, welcome to SEC baseball. But you can't really say that when teams in your conference are losing to Evansville.
And Georgia got blowout.
What are y'all
NC
doing?
State.
Losing to Evansville. We didn't lose to Evansville.
No.
Anything important?
No.
Did we?
No. You're allowed 1 Evansville loss, but 2, and we're allowed to laugh at you tomorrow.
And we're done. Oh man, if that happens, Tennessee, don't let that happen.
Actually, let it happen.
Yeah.
I think we should let it happen. But before we move on, I did want to touch on the pitching just a little bit more. I saw my guy Jonathan walk off, back hat beat, cheap plug. But we've talked about just the 2 or 3 weeks before the NCAA tournament started, the SEC tournament started, just kind of how worried we were about the pitching. But if anything, it shows us the drop-off from SEC baseball to every other conference. I know we talked about this. It seems like it's harder to win the SEC tournament than win games in the NCAA tournament. And the pitching staff has gone from, my goodness, like the Vanderbilt series had a team ERA of like 8. Florida was like 10. And it seemed like every series down the final stretch was up there. And now back-to-back shutouts of teams that had not been shut out this season. Just the way these guys are stepping up. Novi, O'Brien, Hagenow, Hogan, just these guys, man. Like, it's been so impressive to see.
So that's 18 innings of shutout baseball for Kentucky.
Yeah.
Who's a team that's really known for what they do at the dish.
Yeah.
And I mean, you combine what Kentucky can do offensively with these pitching performances. I mean, baseball's a weird game, and the best team doesn't always win.
Yeah.
I mean, Tennessee might beat Evansville tomorrow. There's a good example of that happening.
Yeah.
But it is, and I think, like, what I've been trying to tell people who don't follow Kentucky baseball, first of all, I tell them to watch the back head beat. That's the first thing I tell them. The second thing is that, like, what Kentucky's doing right now, this is what, like, I'm looking at Commonwealth Kroger Field over there, and this is like what Kentucky football. This is like Kentucky football going and going in the playoffs and being like a favorite to win it all.
Yeah,
that's wild. What this is. Like Kentucky. This is Kentucky baseball. This was what was a few years ago.
It's been bad. It had been bad.
And this is kind of what I was talking about. This is that next step that you can take. This is, you go to Omaha, and they're 1 game away. This is amazing. They're 1 game away. If they are able to do that, this is what gets people to follow this team. This becomes like something that it's not just a one-off. Like you get that younger fan base. They're now going to start coming to games more.
Yeah.
People are going to start paying attention to the sport more, and it just grows the game here in the Commonwealth. Mm-hmm. And so this is huge. And I know Coach Mingione said, our goal is not just to go to Omaha. Our goal is to win the national championship, and it should be. They're the number 2 team in the country. Why wouldn't it be? But getting there, man, like that's it's like Kentucky football. Like I said, like going to Atlanta for the SEC championship game. Like it's just like that. That's the level that we're talking here as far as like where this program was to what they're actually competing for tomorrow night at 9 p.m. for some reason. I still don't understand.
Catering to the Beavers, they were the 15 seed. UK's a 2 seeded.
If they were if you're in Oregon and you want to watch this game, would it matter if it was at 3 or 6?
Oh my God.
But no, I mean it's and I know the Big Blue Nation is going to show out tomorrow because, and you're going to have to stay out late. You might be watching a celebration at like 1 a.m. on the field. You want to be here for that.
Yeah.
One of the biggest wins. Now, check me if I'm going too far with this. One of the biggest wins in school history, regardless of sport.
Yeah, I would say so.
I mean in the top. It's got to be in the top 10.
Yeah. If you can get to the College World Series, so what's UK? So some of their bowl games are big. Citrus Bowl,
absolutely.
Some good ones there. Basketball, 8 titles and some Final Fours, but
it could be
accomplishing. Volleyball got a national championship a few years ago.
Yep.
Just the rifle team continues to go, but just for a sport that is probably the 3rd biggest college sport, either that or volleyball, women's volleyball.
Yeah.
and to excel on this level and to reach that level. And like you said, like this will bring in a whole new fan base of people that maybe have always been on the fence. And you think, because I know I was like this growing up. It's
Same.
like it's like Kentucky baseball.
Totally relate,
like
yeah.
It's like you want to go to a game. I'm like, no, like they're just gonna lose.
There was like 1 year in 06 where I got really into it, and then they lost like I think they tied for the SEC title, and then didn't win a game in Hoover. Then like won one game in the regional, and then it was over, and then it kind of died off.
Yeah.
And now 2 years in a row they've been to a super regional, and this year the goals are much different. Last year it was kind of like
I didn't even think they had really.
Yeah, I mean last year at LSU
like,
you're just like
you're running into a bus
This is awesome that you're here,
Yes,
you know,
yeah.
and that is kind of like the mentality of like, let's say Kentucky football goes to Atlanta and they're playing, you know,
Georgia, or not Georgia, but
they're playing like back in the day Nick Saban Alabama team, and you just know like, okay, well this is what this is. But this is a Kentucky baseball team. They're down there. You know what they're doing right now? They're in the batting cage. It's what time is it? Is it midnight yet? No, it's 10:30, and they were in the batting cage down there getting reps in.
Yeah.
They're not. I mean, you know, it'd be easy to be like, man, you always won 10-0. Like, you know, let's just go out and enjoy it for a little bit. They're in there working out. They're ready. This team's focused, and I mean, I have never been as excited about Kentucky baseball. And I mean, obviously.
No, I mean everyone. Like you, I bet they set it again tomorrow night. The attendance record. If they can pack any more people in there,
I think you could. If you don't, maybe you won't see the game, but you can probably fit more people.
You get
back
the
in
atmosphere,
grass.
you know. Like,
Hey, I'd give it like $2 tickets to people to sit in the back. I don't know. Like you're not gonna, you know, you can just be a part of it. That's right. Be a part of the atmosphere. This is historic. We're so close to history. I mean, every game from this point on is the biggest game of Kentucky baseball history.
Yeah.
And we'll be back for the biggest game of Kentucky baseball history tomorrow night at 9 p.m. You're gonna see this Monday morning though.
Like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning.
You ready for a long night?
Oh God.
If they win,
yes.
It's gonna be a really long night if they win.
Oh yeah.
Do you think the bars can stay open in Lexington on Sunday night to celebrate? I mean,
we can go to Minge's house. You know, he's talked about. He's got a pool back there.
There we go. We're gonna try to hang out with Coach Minge tomorrow to celebrate a trip to Omaha.
We can press the flesh. We can get in there or something. You know.
I think we just end it. with that.
Yeah.